y'all, it is Crafty Hope here, and I am working in this little junk journal I made. I'm trying to think back in December or something. I don't have a video on it or anything, but it's what I'm working on. I have sped this up, oh y'all, so much because this whole first portion really doesn't matter except to get us to the next portion. I had been inspired by watching, I think it was watching some videos from Lisa Goddard. I'll put a link to her below and some of her art journaling where there's a lot of color on the edges of her art journaling but there's a lot of muted tones throughout, and I was really digging that, and I knew that was the direction I wanted to head, but I wanted to add a bunch of texture and mark making to the background first. So as you see, I put down some paint, I added some collage, I've got some, what is that, India ink there. I'm doing some mark making now. I'm drying between all of these layers. And like I said, a lot of this really doesn't matter. The texture matters in the end, but most of these marks, yeah. So you see, I did all of that, and now I've got some gesso, and I'm covering all that up. And the majority of those colors and even the texture that's back there never gets seen because, yeah, I just throw down a bunch of gesso on it. So I'm going to come back in. And again, this is something else you're not really going to see. I've got more of that India ink and I'm putting some more marks down. And I think after that, I'm going to layer on a little bit more of a collage. And the second layer, no, first, hey, I'm going to stencil here. And, um, yeah, I want to go ahead and warn you, I got my cosmetic sponges at the Dollar Tree here recently because I decided to stock up. They are not the same consistency as we're used to getting at the Dollar Tree. They are lighter and fluffier, and maybe they're better for putting makeup on, but they are not great for putting paint down. So, I'm struggling with what to do with that. So, okay. So there, I've got all that. I've got a little more collage down, and now I'm going to put down this. I'm going to put down this, what is it? I think it's an Americana Deco Art paint, but I've had it forever, so the label's different. And I think it's just called Parchment. So it's this really light yellow. I've actually got it organized with my yellows, even though it's like parchment white or whatever. And I'm using it like I did the gesso and just kind of covering everything back up again. So, um, I've slowed the video back down a little bit because this is where I really get into the bulk of what I do with this page. So, but I wanted you to see like where I started and where we're going. So, that is a Stabilo all pencil in brown, and I'm kind of partly using it to make some marks, but it's also adding a little bit of that brown color in there, just something subtle in there. It's scratching into the wet paint as well as, giving some movement and color. And then I'm going to squirt on some Lucas acrylic paint in titanium white onto the page and just kind of blend that in a little bit with that parchment. So you see that I'm just trying to blend it, get it to be a good base, and I didn't dry between those layers. So yeah, and I think in here somewhere I'm looking at it. Um, trying to pick up some of the texture. You can see the light change there. I think I stepped away from it and came back for a minute. So I'm re-wetting some of the paints I had down. That's I think it was an orange Dina Wakley. I think tangerine maybe was what it was, and I'm trying to get a little bit on there. For some reason I was feeling like orangey corals the day I did this. So that's kind of what I'm going with. So I tried to get some of that paint up, and I don't know why I didn't get more out. But you see, I get a little bit of color down, and then I grabbed a Tombow and thought, okay, well, maybe I'll try to get the color I want with that. And that doesn't really do it for me. So I'm adding bits and pieces of there. I'm really just getting paint on my Tombow. I probably just ruined it. Um, let's see, from there I tried a Stabilo Woody to get a little bit more of that orangey color on there. Like I said, I'm just trying everything. I really like the subtle nature of some of the colors that I saw Lisa get in some of her art journaling, so I want to give her props for that. So I'm finally going to dry this, and what am I coming in with? I decided to put a little bit of blue because I guess that Stabilo Woody worked pretty well. So I'm going to do that, the same thing there with that kind of aqua turquoise colored Woody. Now, y'all, I did this art journal page, I don't even know, maybe 2 weeks ago. And so that's why I'm struggling with remember what I did here. Because I've been whole hog into iCAD recently, and I'm trying to get through getting these videos out to you so I can start showing you how I make my iCADs. And I'd like to try to catch up with some of that. So we'll see. We'll see. So there's my little yogurt container that's got dried instant coffee in it. Y'all, I just keep reconstituting this stuff. I probably just need to make, I don't know, it dries and then I reconstitute it, and it seems to just keep working for me. So, that's all I did was add some water to it, reconstituted, and I am going to drag that around on the page to let that instant coffee pick up. You see where it splashed there? I was like, oh yeah, I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and splatter all over the page because I like that. But what I was really trying to do, I don't know why that was so hard to get out, was to pick up some of the texture, especially from that drywall tape. I love the texture of that stuff. So I'm letting that coffee, and I could have done probably the same thing with an ink, but since I was trying to do subtle and all of that, I kept it simple with the coffee here. And you see, I'm really toying with that, trying to be intentional, but not too intentional with where that coffee went. And I dried it a pretty good ways, and then I'm picking it up with a piece of paper. I think I mentioned this in another video that Tiffany of Southern Gals Designs mentioned that somewhere that you get kind of a neat effect with that. So I've been trying doing that, and I'm big on like smushing up excess water anyway. So at some point it hit me to try, I think I was looking everywhere for whatever color it was I wanted, and I found this distress stain in abandoned coral. And I always forget about these distress stains. Um, and whenever I use them, I'm like, oh my gosh, why don't I use these more? And this, y'all, it worked perfect. And I really, they don't make these anymore. So I think when Tuesday morning had them all at once, I stocked up as many as I could of the colors I didn't have. And now I use them sparingly because anything that's precious to me, I just don't use. I think I mentioned that before. So as I'm moving this around, I think at some point in here I decided I wanted to do some splatter like I did with the coffee. And I'm going to tell you that is one of my favorite things on this page when I look at it later is this little bit of splatter I'm going to get. So I'm going to take my little it's a little piece of plastic. It's like a chopping block thing from the Dollar Tree that was wider and bigger, and I cut it down into smaller pieces, and it's great for um, gluing on and putting ink and stuff on to just, so I don't mess up my desk completely. So I splash on there, and of course I'm going to dry, but I forget how much I love how that distress stain gets on the page and leaves marks. It's almost as good as the distress oxide. Almost. All right, so I've got this piece of fabric that I think is coffee dyed. It could, I don't know. It's not the color it was originally. It's not as plain white. So I've decided I'm going to use it, and so I'm playing around with it. And what am I going to do? I'm going to come in with just a black rollerball pen from the Dollar Tree and make some tiny little dotty marks in different sections. Now, for the most part, I like these little marks. Some of the ones I did in the middle, you may see it in the close-up pictures. Y'all, I'm sorry, my words are not with me today. I think I'm cutting it close. I really wanted to get this video voiced over, but I really need to get dinner started too, so I'm trying to talk before I think. So, forgive me. So, some of the marks I make in the center of the page because of the dip from the crease. The pen kind of smears a little there, and so I don't really like that. Oh, and yeah, I do for some reason go out of frame on here, and which I don't do often, so I'm real sorry about that. But you can bet right there, I'm just doing more of the same thing, which is making lots of those little tiny dots. Now, this rollerball pen, y'all, is one of my favorites. It is super juicy. It's from the Dollar Tree, of course, and it is not water resistant. So I try to use it later in things because it will smudge and smear and if it gets wet. So, all right. Next up, what am I doing? I grab a couple of yearbook pages that have been, I think one's been rust dyed and one's been coffee dyed, and this is the rust dyed one. And I really like that lady up the upper left corner. I say lady, she's in a yearbook. She's probably a student. But look at her. I love her. Um, and so I grab my fabric and I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want to back her with that fabric. And I am going to futz with this whole arrangement of making her stand out, making this focal here. So I start by ripping at this fabric a little. I see Tiffany, who I mentioned before, Southern Gals Designs, do that a lot, which is just rip into the fabric. And so I did that, tore it back down. I'm going to rip that hole open a little and then finally decide where I want that hole, where I want my girl. And then I think I'm going to grab some thread, I think. I don't know why there's such gaps. No, I'm going to start layering up some other things. That is some deli paper that's also been rust dyed, so it kind of goes well with her. I think, yeah, I'm going to go up to the side and grab my India ink again and put some marks on that because you can't see any of the India ink marks I made, but well, you can see a few, but they're just not there. So I'm going to make some marks on that. And really, I'm just trying to make her stand out a little. I knew that stack of that white fabric and then that clear deli paper is just so boring, and so I needed a touch of black on there. So that's all this is just getting something that will contrast and stand out a little bit. I know I'm going to mark this whole paper up. So I promise I did speed this section up. It just doesn't feel like it, does it? Um, okay. All right. Do you see what that was? I picked up a hair weave set up at the Dollar Tree, and it comes with several needles and some thread. Now, I don't know what the thread's made of, but it is a fairly sturdy thread. I would think anything you wanted to weave into your hair would have to be pretty nice. So, I'm just using that to stitch a few stitches on that tear in that fabric, kind of folding back um, the tear just so that, the background can peek through it a little. It doesn't work expertly, but it was a fun little something different to try for me. So, I'm incorporating all kinds of stuff. This was overboard, and I kind of, yeah, when I sat down with this video to edit, y'all, and saw that it was like an hour and a half long, I flipped out a little. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't remember working that long on this page. And so I guess I must have gotten into the zone at some point because, yeah, I don't remember it being that long. I don't remember it being this much of a struggle either. All right, so I have got that there. I'm not even going to bother gluing that or taping that because I know I'm going to use some matte gel medium here in a little bit to finish that stack up. All right, so I've apparently switched frames there. I've got my little stack. I decided I needed some dictionary paper because, yeah, that's my jam. And so I'm going to layer that behind the paper a little just to give it also to separate it. And then I've got these tickets from a skating rink, I think, in somewhere in Texas. And that kind of goes with like the pinky coral that's in there. So I'm finally going to glue down this little stack. Once I get it glued down, I'm going to be a little persnickety with this. Because I spent so much time picking out all those little pieces, I want to make sure that it's glued down the way I want to glue it down. So, yeah, here we go. Trying to use plenty of glue. I told y'all before, if y'all watched a couple videos back, that I'm gonna try not to be as stingy with the glue because I always tend to need more. There I go, rushing again. And y'all, dinner's really easy. I'm just making spaghetti. I don't know why I'm stressing about it. Um, all right, so I'm gonna glue this down, and then I'm going to go grab a sticker book of sentiments. And look, y'all, I have a different shirt on, so I must have left and let that dry and come back. Um, and I think that sentiment says all she ever wanted was happiness. And I thought that kind of worked with the look on that girl's face. Like, come on, people, all I want is some happiness. So I'm going to stick that down and add some scribbles. I need a little more movement on here, so I've just got a pencil and doing some loose scribbles on there and then kind of blending them with my finger. And then that's going to be it, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Don't hesitate to let me know if you have any questions about any of this. I'm sorry it was so long. I'm trying to get better about that. So I hope y'all have a beautifully creative day and keep on crafting on. Thanks for watching. Bye.